Welcome to Talking with Greenhills. Today we're going to take some time in the studio to make sure you're caught up on everything that's happening in the village. There's new faces, there's new things going on. You have news from the police department. So I want to make sure that we get the residents all caught up. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start, Evonne, with new faces.
Okay, as people come into the village office now, they're going to see a new face. It's Mary Ann Davis. Previously, it was Brenda Davis, no relation, but they're doing great. Brenda's moved over to be my assistant now. So Mary Ann will be the first line of handling the calls and coming up with the answers. We also have a new service worker. We've been advertising for quite some time, but we have a service worker coming back. The individual left us just a couple years ago and has asked to return, so we're very excited about that. He'll be starting soon, and they've been so short of help for so long. It's much needed. We also have a new fire marshal, Troy Schwabel, who joins John Yount in the code enforcement. And we think between the two of them, it's going to really improve the quality of life in Greenhills. So we are very excited about that.
That's fantastic.
I think that's all the new staff right now.
That's fantastic. So a lot of new names for residents to look for. And I have the feeling that Mary Ann will be the first one they notice. Because
Probably.
Right there, the face of the municipal building right
Yes.
there when they come in. Okay,
Yes.
Excellent. And what else is going on that we need to make sure? I think we're going to cover a lot in a short amount of time. So if you're watching this, you may have to watch twice to take proper notes. But I guess we can say at the beginning that one place, if they don't take proper notes, is you have a Facebook page.
We do, yes.
And it's not that new, but it's still kind of new.
It's pretty new. We're using it more and more. And I think it's working out really well. You know, communication's a little difficult because no matter how many different methods you try, somebody's going to say, I didn't know, I didn't hear, whatever. So just try to hit all the bases and hopefully they'll find out. Watch your show. One of my most recent updates that we put on was listing Malloy's. Malloy's on the Green. It's been here 70 years. Has been a restaurant, bar, banquet hall combination over the years. And we know how important it is to our citizens that it hopefully remain a gathering point for them. So we've listed it for lease, not for sale. We'll retain ownership, and we're hoping for really exciting things from that.
Okay, I know lots of generations of Greenhills people know of team events and weddings, events and all kinds of years of gathering at Malloy's.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice if hopefully someone will pick up the lease and keep that as a location.
And the other thing that our residents will start seeing fairly soon, because we'll be going out to bid soon, and that's another grant project through the Transit Infrastructure Grant Fund. And it'll be repaving of a portion of Farragut to Enfield, and Enfield all the way around to Eswin. So we're excited about that too.
Excellent. So when would that be scheduled to? You're just in the putting out for bids, but
right.
When would that start?
Hopefully in April, and be over before we open on, May 27th?
Okay.
The pool? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? Be
Yes.
open before pool time.
Yes.
Which is such a nice facility. I can't wait as we go
I
further
know.
on.
We're looking forward to it. Yeah, it's
Yes.
it's being totally repainted. We had the slides been totally repainted.
Okay.
A lot of good updates. So.
Okay. And
Looking
hopefully
forward to a good year.
a new road in front.
Hopefully so. There's a new parking lot already, so.
Exactly.
Partially there.
Tell me some more things that are going on in Greenhills. You brought us some reports too.
I did. Towards the end of the year, I had a visit by one of our council members, Maria Walther Willard. And she was coming to offer some help. She said, what could the Ladies Auxiliary of the American Legion do to help the department? I told her that we were in the process of hiring a new officer, and ballistic vests are always expensive, so that would be very much appreciated. And she jotted that down. And then she said, what else do you really want that's on your want list that's just out of the question for the budget? And I told her AEDs, which are automatic electronic defibrillators. And when I first got to Greenhills 10 years ago, we had some sitting on a shelf. So I asked Fire Chief Tony Spaeth to check them, and I said, these are here, they don't look like they're operable. He took a look at them and he said, they're obsolete, they can't be repaired. So it's an expensive item. So we have gone for almost a decade without any kind of AEDs. And why that's important is that our officers are out on patrol. They're oftentimes the first one to get to a squad run. So in that type of a situation, and just think back to the Bengals game recently with the Buffalo Bills, how important it was to have quick aid. So oftentimes a minute or two can make a difference in saving a life. So I told Maria that story, and she said, "Well, see what I could do." Then at the December council meeting, much to my surprise, the American Legion Auxiliary gave us a $1,000 check to go towards the purchase of an AED, and then Maria herself matched it with another $1,000 donation. So I was on cloud nine. I started pricing these devices, and they're very pricey, right around $2,000 a unit. So I was thinking logistically about how this would all work. And because we're in the northern part of Hamilton County, oftentimes our officers make runs south towards Cincinnati. If we take a prisoner to jail, if we take a patient to the hospital, or maybe we have to run to the coroner's lab. So we're out of the jurisdiction here and there. And if we only had one of those units, I was worried that we'd miss an opportunity. So I got to thinking, and we are so fortunate in Greenhills to have a generous group of people that has always helped us out. We set up a community fund a number of years ago, and we use that to help indigents and sometimes people that just truly are in need. We recently did it with Shop with a Cop, and it's able to provide some Christmas goodies for kids that probably wouldn't have had much of a Christmas otherwise. So I made a few phone calls and made some contacts. We had an anonymous donor come forward that wrote a large check that funded an AED for each cruiser, one in our lobby. And then when I was so excited telling Evonne about all of this, she says, "I've got some rec fund money. We're going to put one in the swimming pool too." Now what that made us do, we purchased 7 of these instruments, and we were able to get a quantity discount. So we got the very best possible price. And those are now in place. There's one in our lobby, there's one in each cruiser. I'm just convinced that at some point in the future, it's going to save a life of one of our residents. So we're just so thrilled about that, to have that kind of generosity to go towards the good of our community. I think it's a great story, and we're happy that it occurred.
That is a really great story, because it's not just you put something on a budget list and you hoped it happened. It was every corner of the community is part of those.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
And it's so typical of the Greenhills community. Our community always steps forward in times of need, and we just couldn't be more blessed to have the community that we have.
That is, and so also as residents, that's just another layer of safety to know that
It is. And
it's not just in one spot that's too hard to get to. And
to further delve into that angle, we conferred with the fire department, and we got the same brand AED as they have. They said it was the very best. But what that allows us to do is to start the process. Their medics get there, they can quickly take over, everything is interchangeable. And then the icing on the cake was Lieutenant Julie Sheets on our fire department volunteered as part of our biannual recertification on first aid and CPR. She trained all of our officers on the operation of the AEDs. So they've all been trained, and that was with cooperation from the fire department. So we're so grateful to them for their help. Well, we do have some of the latest in training and equipment. But the other thing is you mentioned it's a small town, and we do like that small town flavor. And I read all the times on our officers' reports, went out and shot basketball with the kids in, the A block, or went out and, played touch football, and, I got beat, but, we had a good time. So we see those kind of things. And in the hiring process recently, hiring a police officer, one of the things that we heard from our candidates were, "We've heard about your town, we heard about the community-oriented policing that you do here, and I want to be a part of that." So the message is getting out, and it's a great place to work, and so we're lucky to get some really top flight officers.
so it's not surprising that you have all those new faces down in the municipal building. And I know we have, over the past year, introduced some new faces from your department also.
Correct.
And it's exciting to get to meet them. It sounds like the training doesn't extend to touch football and basketball if they're getting beat in the neighborhood, which is okay.
We're working on it.
It's okay, yeah. That's another session, but
Well, we'll
it's
tell
all
you
right.
more about that when we talk about events, because we get to practice with Game Time with GPD, because we get to play some of those games with our kids.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, that's a really good segue because we want to talk about events. But before we talk about events, there has been something else that folks, I know I psyched you out. You thought I was going to talk about events next. But there's been something else on the Facebook page, in the news, that you've been reporting on from your department related to mail. Can you update us on that whole scenario and how that wrapped up?
I can. We first became aware of this right around the holidays, when people were mailing lots of Christmas cards, and unfortunately checks were in some of those. We found out that our little blue mailbox in front of the shopping center on Winton Road, that we were part of the national epidemic, I suppose you might say, of the theft of the master keys for those letter boxes. And we had people's mail that was stolen. The reason we knew that it was because a car was stopped in Springfield Township, and it had lots of stolen mail in it, a lot of it from Greenhills. So we knew this was a continuing problem. One of the things we've done is we've repositioned the mailbox. We worked with the Postal Service to reposition that so it's a little more visible now. So we think that that will help. But honestly, we do have to tell people and warn them, if you have important mail that you want to make sure gets through. Personally, what I do and what I recommend that you do is take it to your nearest post office, take it inside, and drop it inside from the lobby mail slot. That way you know that it's only going to be handled by postal workers and isn't subject to being stolen. We've heard while we're doing some of these investigations that those master keys are going in the dark web for upwards of $25,000. So to update you on some of the things that happened, we've had 2 interactions with suspects that have been involved in this. On December 17th was the first report. Then on February 5th, one of our officers, Sergeant Tony Patton, was on patrol and saw a car that was a stolen car out of Norwood. So he pursued that into Springfield Township, and there we made an apprehension of 3 suspects. They had been involved, we think, in some of the earlier thefts, and they had stolen mail in the car. We have a video that I think one of the news stations ran, but they're tossing mail out of the windows while the car is being pursued down Winton Road, and checks. So there were still some that were in the vehicle. I believe there were some instruments that they were using in some of these thefts. They had drugs in the car. But not only did we charge them locally for a variety of charges, but they are also now being charged federally by the postal inspectors. So this is a big deal. This is an ongoing thing that is occurring now. I'm sure the Postal Service is going to do something to figure out how to secure these mailboxes. But when you think across the whole United States, there's, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of these mailboxes. So it's got to be a big, expensive solution. But in the meantime, we truly recommend that you use the inside mail slots in your local post office. And for our Greenhills residents, that's right down the road on Northland Boulevard and Forest Park. So that's a good, safe way to listen or to get your mail safely to where it needs to be. But speaking of listening, I listened to the audio of the pursuit when Sergeant Patton was pursuing these guys. So calm, so cool. Even when they were running from him, he stayed very calm, and we're just proud of the job that he did in apprehending those 3 thieves and bringing them to justice.
Nothing like watching your own people just thrive in a public arena where lots of people are watching, and just see them really nail it and know that they're representing your department.
Well, speaking of being part of the national trends, we had one that came to town on January 30th. It was a swatting incident. And in case you don't know what a swatting incident is, the FBI has written quite a bit about that, and it's where a false call is made where their goal is to get a SWAT team involved and really create a lot of pandemonium in a neighborhood or at a school or at a place of business. And we unfortunately had And one of our elderly residents that was victimized, his address was used. The caller was very graphic to our communications center and said, shooting had occurred, and they talked about what body parts were involved and gave very detailed descriptions. So when we got there, it wasn't really adding up, so we made a real cautious approach to the house. We didn't know if it was real or not.
Right.
But we were able to make contact with the resident there. We found out that everything was fine. We checked the home, and it was entirely a false call. And the most aggravating part of this is that as our investigators looked at it, at first it showed that this call originated from Stockholm, Sweden. But then we found out that it was a spoofed IP address that was being used. We really don't know where it came from, to be honest. So this is just such an aggravating situation, not only for law enforcement, but for the victim that is victimized. And as if we didn't have enough to do with real crime,
Right.
we're responding to this. So, we're doing everything we can to figure out where it came from, but these cyber criminals make it tougher and tougher. And speaking of cyber criminals, while we're just on a roll here, it's getting to be tax season.
Oh,
So
yeah.
as people are preparing their taxes, they're getting calls from so-called IRS agents, or they're getting an email or a text message. Here's the truth from law enforcement. The IRS is not going to call you. They're not going to text you ever, and they're not going to contact you by social media. So all of those, you have to realize, are scams, no matter how convincing that they sound. So when the IRS contacts you, they do so by U.S. mail. They will send you many notices. There may be instances, if you're the subject of an audit, where they may send somebody out, but they're going to always notify you ahead of time by mail. So if someone knocks on your door and you've not had any contact from the IRS through the mail, or if they call you and they threaten arrest, particularly if they want you to use a gift card to pay them,
Gosh, yeah.
it's just not legitimate. Let us know, let the local police department know. You can even contact the IRS, and they do have a telephone number. I don't know if I can find it very quickly, but it is 1-800-829-1040.
Oh.
1-800-829-1040 to call the IRS direct. So before you give any money away, please give them a call, give us a call. We don't want to see you be the victim of a scam.
And they can call your office. They can call your non-emergency number.
Absolutely.
And say, does
Our
this sound right?
non-emergency number, 825-2101. That's area code 513-825-2101. And we'll help anyone out with those kind of questions. And then one last crime prevention tip that's interspersed in with some real live incidents. We want to make sure that we remind people to keep their cars locked and to keep their valuables secured in their homes, not in their cars, particularly not visible. There was a lot of buzz on social media recently about a series of car thefts. And what we were able to find out while we were investigating that, a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old hit probably a little less than a dozen cars that every one of them had been left unlocked with valuables inside. Now, while these juveniles were out on their little crime spree, they also went into a home that was being rehabbed in our G section. And they went in and they used black spray paint over some brand new fixtures, bathroom fixtures and walls that had just been freshly painted. But we were able to catch them. We interviewed them, and they were both taken to juvenile detention center. They'll be going to juvenile court. But that whole thing could have been prevented if people would lock their cars. So we just ask you, please protect your own valuables, help us out, help yourselves out, keep your vehicles locked. The only other one that I have is that Forest Park, and we worked so well with our surrounding police agencies, but they let us know about a stolen vehicle. It was on February 8th. Oftentimes people will see our cruisers parked on Winton Road. And they think, why are they doing that? Well, they think, they're running radar, trying to find speeders, which we do. I think that our highest in the past couple of months was 97 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. So we're watching for those. I always tell people, please watch your speed because it's just so dangerous. Winton Road is our only 35-mile-an-hour zone, and all our subdivisions are 25, and that's for a reason, because kids are playing in the street and crossing the street. But anyway, our officer was parked on Winton Road after this broadcast went out. He observed the stolen vehicle. He very alertly called it all in calmly, and did not turn on his blue lights immediately. Got other cars lined up. Well, the car took off, and in today's society, particularly with the amount of traffic that we have, the officer decided to discontinue the pursuit. But the car went on. It was some juveniles. It was a 16-year-old driving the car, wrecked. He was apprehended. But at any rate, that was another good catch. It's amazing what we find going up and down Winton Road. So that leads us into events.
It feels like spring today, so I feel like it's a good time. Let's talk about some spring events.
Well, we overloaded last year with a number of events, and we're continuing at that same pace this year. So we're really close to our first event, which is March 18th. That's on a Saturday. We're going to have our Coffee with a Cop, and we have it at Foster's at the Troubadour, which incidentally, not only do you get to hang out with us, you can have great food. So we'll have some food there. You can also purchase a full breakfast if you want, but we'll be there from 10 in the morning until noon on Saturday, March 18th. So that's the kickoff of our first event. Last year, we had our very first ever open house. Yvonne was
that
there.
was
Yeah, we
great.
were at the front door.
really nice.
I would have gone just for the popcorn. We had popcorn there. But at any rate, we'll have that again on Saturday, May the 20th. And that'll run from 10 a.m. until 2 in the afternoon. We open up all 3 floors of our municipal building. There's so much to see and so much of equipment. We let people go through our cruisers. I haven't confirmed it yet with the fire department, but typically they'll have some fire trucks out in the squad. And we have hot dogs. We have an officer grilling hot dogs. We have popcorn. We'll have a whole lot of fun on that day, and it's going to be a lot to see and some good activities. You can come when you want, anytime that you want, and we'll have door prizes and lots of fun things. It was a
And
great
it's for
event
all
last
ages,
year.
not just for little kids or not just for grown-ups?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fantastic. Just to get to go see all the vehicles, and let's face it, sometimes you get to be a grown-up and you still want to see the vehicles, and so
How
that's
often
fantastic.
do you get to turn on a siren?
Yeah.
Right?
It's fun.
Well, if you go to every Greenhills event, you have been there to be that connected to the
Absolutely.
community. If you don't live in Greenhills, you don't have that opportunity all the
Now,
time.
you mentioned our Facebook page earlier.
Yes.
This will be a good place to look because Yvonne and I will be doing Park Talks again this
Yes,
year, starting in the
yes.
spring. We don't have the dates set for those yet, but we'll have those on our Facebook page. And we have found a little trick to get people to come. We bring pizza. So-
Worked for me.
Yeah.
I came. Yes.
So we'll be doing that and having some fun with that. Earlier, I mentioned how much fun we had with the game time with GPD. That's going to be on Saturday, June 10th. We're going to do that from noon till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So bring your kids. Make sure that you can drop them off with us. You can hang out with us if you want, but we'll have lots of fun with that. And then on August 1st, we're going to be doing Cooking with the Cops on National Night Out. Taking us all the way into fall, we've got Harvest Fest on October 7th. We'll be there. We've got Light Up Greenhills on December 1st. That's when we bring cookies. You notice a theme here. We always
Yeah.
have some
Yeah.
enticements to
Food
come
works
visit.
You
every
can
time.
eat your way through this event list, folks.
Absolutely. Now, some things that we don't have set dates for. We do our defensive tactics course, and people had so much fun last year when we did that. But all we need is about a half a dozen or more folks to sign up for that, and we'll schedule that. So if you're watching this program, give us a call or leave us a note on our website, and we'll set that up. And we also do an active shooter program. We do ask that you have some connection to Greenhills, like either be Greenhills residents or a group in Greenhills. We've done that for church groups and just residents. And we also are available for a Citizens Police Academy. We haven't had one of those for a couple of years because of the pandemic, but if we get enough interest in that, we'll be doing those as well. So that wraps up a pretty action-packed list. I'm sure we'll come up with a couple more things as the year goes on.
Yeah, and that's, as we get closer, there'll be details about things like Concert on the Commons.
Right.
Coming back all summer, Wednesday nights, and of course, Waycross loves to come and record those.
Yeah, and I think the car show is going to be on a Saturday this year, so
Okay,
that'll be
all right,
really
we'll
good.
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
That'll be good. And there's a few things like the fire department has an Easter egg hunt.
Right? Yeah, that's coming up.
That's April
April
9th.
9th. soon.
So, and that will be right on the Commons too. Easy to find. And I'm a personal big fan of the of the village-wide yard sale.
Oh, yeah.
I love the village-wide yard sale. And that's not until June 3rd, but I kind of want to mention it because
please
if
do.
you know now that there's the village-wide yard sale in June, now you can start putting things aside and deciding if maybe it's time to hit that back corner of the basement, or in my case, the entire basement.
Well, it's so easy to have your calendar out while you're watching this program, hit rewind if you can, and just write those dates down, and that way you'll be all prepared.
Yeah, there's so much going on for
There is.
all ages. Little kids, families, and every one of these events really seems to have a theme of, okay, food, there's definitely a theme of food, but the theme I was thinking of was the fact that you're very accessible to residents. Park talks and open houses, and come to the building, or just come to the municipal building and meet Mary Ann.
There you go.
And say nice things to her and welcome.
Well, at least from my perspective, since we all wear uniforms and we drive these big, kind of scary cars that have blue lights that stop you and scare you to death, we want people to realize that we're more than that. We're more than just the scary police. We're also moms, dads, brothers, sisters, and we love having fun with not only kids, but people of all ages. So that's what some of our events are designed to do, we can get to know our residents, they can get to know us, and that helps out a lot in the long run, because we'll run into them when, they're maybe the victims of crime or whatever, and they say, oh, I remember you, I saw you at this event or whatever, and it helps a whole lot when you're really upset about you've been victimized with something. So
How much better is it to talk to someone you've sat across a table and played a game with, or played basketball with, or beat at football.
there you go.
Kids, if you're watching this, come to game night and help them, okay? Come and help them. And they might beat you at some of the games, but it sounds like maybe there's some that could use your tips, so.
We've got some pretty good basketball players.
Okay, yeah, well, you've got the height in some of your officers.
Officer Mayberry.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness, yes.
Officer
Yeah,
Young,
yeah, you've got a few officers
guys.
that can, so, also, yeah, bring your challenge, see how you do. I want to thank you both so much for coming in. You've always been so helpful with my goal, which is to help connect the residents to local government, and you've always been so open to making sure we get everybody connected to what's going on. So appreciate your time here in the studio, and I look forward to seeing all these events. I'm going to be at most of them, of course, now that I know there's pizza and hot dogs and cookies at that one. So now you know how to find me. And
Works every time for
I
me
can't
too.
wait. Right? It
Yes,
works.
yes.
It works. And they're good cookies that they bring to light up.
They work hard on those.
Pizza. You had frozen ice, the Italian ice.
Oh yeah,
at,
it's
that'll be
really
bad.
good.
at the grill. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good too, guys.
That's good.
So if you haven't gone to these events and you haven't been watching the highlights that we record, make sure you go to them this year, because there's a lot of good stuff happening. So
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
thank you for scheduling all this good stuff and for letting us know about it.